At 2 a.m., most of the campus was asleep. Dorm lights were off. Doors were locked. Music from parties had faded into silence. But somewhere on this quiet college campus, a 19-year-old girl was alone, disoriented, and struggling to walk. She trusted the wrong person. In just a few minutes, she would vanish. No screams were heard. No witnesses came forward in time. No body was ever found. For more than 25 years, her parents would wake up every morning asking the same question. Where's our daughter? Her name was Kristin Smart. This is not just a story about a crime. It is a story about mischances, silence, and a truth that refused to stay buried. Tonight, this is her true story. Kristin Denise Smart was born on May 1st, 1977. She grew up in Stockton, California, in a close and loving family. Kristin was kind. She was outgoing. She loved sports and music. Friends described her as warm and trusting. In 1995, Kristin began attending California Polytechnic State University, better known as Cal Poly, in San Luis Obispo. She was studying architecture. Kristin had dreams. She wanted a career. She wanted a future. By the spring of 1996, she had just finished her freshman year. She was 19 years old, and she had her whole life ahead of her. Saturday night, May 24th, 1996. It was Memorial Day weekend. For Cal Poly students, it meant freedom. The school year was ending. Finals were over. Parties were happening all over San Luis Obispo. Kristin Smart went to one of them. It was an off-campus party at a house near the university. Music played loudly. People drank. Some danced. Others talked outside under the night sky. Kristin arrived with friends. At first, she was fine, but as the night went on, she drank more alcohol. Witnesses later said Kristin became extremely intoxicated. She was slurring her words. She stumbled when she walked. Friends tried to help her. At one point, Kristin lay down on a couch. People assumed she would sober up. But around 2 a.m., Kristin decided she wanted to go back to her dorm. She began to walk alone. She didn't know she was being watched. She didn't know this decision would change everything. Paul Flores was a fellow Cal Poly student. He told people he was just being nice. Witnesses later said they saw Paul and Kristin walking together toward the dorms. At one point, another student joined them. That student later said Kristin and Paul were walking ahead of him. When they reached the dorm area, the other student stopped. Kristin and Paul kept going. This was the last time anyone ever saw Kristin Smart. Paul Flores would later tell police that he walked Kristin to her dorm and then left her outside. He said she was alive. He said she walked away. But no one else ever saw her again. When Kristin didn't show up the next morning, her friends became worried. She missed plans. She missed calls. This was not like her. By the afternoon of May 25th, her family was notified. A missing person report was filed. At first, police assumed Kristin might have left on her own. This assumption would cost them valuable time. Her dorm room was untouched. Her car was still parked. Her wallet and personal items were left behind. Kristin had vanished. Police questioned Paul Flores multiple times. From the beginning, his behavior stood out. He avoided eye contact. He gave short answers. He changed small details each time he spoke. Then officers noticed something troubling. Paul had a fresh black eye. He claimed he got it while playing basketball. Friends said that didn't make sense. Search dogs were brought in. The dogs alerted to Paul Flores' dorm room. They also alerted to a trash can nearby. Later, they alerted again, this time to the backyard of Paul's mother's home. This should have been a turning point. But critical mistakes were made. Search warrants were delayed. Areas were not properly sealed. Potential evidence was lost. As days passed, then weeks, the trail grew colder. Paul Flores remained free. Kristin Smart remained missing. And the Smart family was left with nothing but questions. Kristin's parents refused to give up. They held vigils. They spoke to the media. They followed every lead. Meanwhile, Paul Flores stayed silent. He lived his life. He avoided interviews. Rumors followed him for decades. But without a body, prosecutors said they couldn't move forward. In 2019, a podcast called Your Own Backyard changed everything. It brought new attention. New witnesses came forward. Police re-examined old evidence. New searches were conducted. In 2021, Paul Flores was arrested. So was his father, Ruben Flores. For the first time in 25 years, the Smart family felt hope. The trial revealed disturbing details. Witnesses spoke about Paul's behavior. Experts testified about evidence found beneath his father's home. Though Kristin's body was never found, the story became clear. In 2022, Paul Flores was found guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to prison. Kristin Smart finally had justice. Kristin Smart went to a party. She trusted that she would make it home safely. She trusted the people around her. She never imagined that a short walk across campus would be the last walk of her life. For decades, her parents waited. They waited for answers. They waited for accountability. They waited for justice. And though Kristin's body was never found, the truth finally caught up with the man responsible. This case reminds us of something important. Evil doesn't always look frightening. Sometimes it looks ordinary. Sometimes it walks beside you and pretends to help. Kristin Smart is not just a name in a headline. She was a daughter, a friend, a young woman with dreams. And because of those who refuse to stay silent, her story will never be forgotten.